and welcome to the first interview of the new season in 2026 of Building a Business, Grit and Grace. I'm Anna Angelova, host of this podcast and business coach and consultant and founder of Leficomp. And today is a very special day and a very special episode because my guest is actually my co-host and co-founder, Jores Minasvand. Hey, Jores, how are you doing?
Hi, Anna. I'm doing very well. How about you?
Very, very well, actually. The year has started very well, and I'm excited for what's ahead. And I'm excited to get you to share a little bit about your story. And today it's a little bit different because what your business is ultimately you're an independent consultant, an independent contractor. Um, Something that a lot of people actually in Canada and the US, a lot of people, their businesses, like they have a business entity because this is what they do, like they're independent contractor, freelancers in a way. And I am looking forward for you to share like how it all started, all these kind of things. So actually, let's go. When did you get into this, like being an independent contractor, and why did you choose this direction?
When? Oh, dinosaur were roaming the earth, I think. Probably.
Hey.
Uh, well, I started my career in 1995, and I got a job in a small software development company downtown Toronto, Richmond, and Spadina. Six people. I think I was the sixth person to be hired, and then someone else was hired with me at the same day. So there were a total of seven, eight people, six, seven people, I think. And then we expanded from there. Fresh out of school, out of Seneca College, I was just, how hungry I was, and this was the beginning of the internet, where we were a Microsoft partner. We got the beta versions of the DNS server, Exchange server, a whole bunch IIS server. I had to manually, program all of them and to get them to work. Actually, I was probably one of the first, if not the first person who got the Exchange server, beta Exchange server to work and sent an email to Microsoft. They called us within 5 minutes, like, how did you make this work? So I collaborated with the engineers on how I got it to work. Anyways, I used to work like 20 hours a day, and I was learning, no complaints. But after 6 months, I saw my paychecks, and I'm like, this is not happening. This is not, I'm still young. I'm starting my uh, career, but look forward 4 years from now, I have nothing left. This is so. I quit. I'm a very abrupt person, so I just went and quit. And then the president of the company asked me why I'm quitting, and I told him, and he's like, "Oh no, you don't have to quit. I'll teach you something." So he taught me. He said, "I don't really care. You can become a consultant and a contractor." So I set everything up. Became a contractor, and I realized over the couple of decades that followed that actually job security was in being a contractor. People were telling me, "Oh, how are you going to build a family? You need a job security. You need insurance to." I'm like, I've never needed insurance all my life, and if I ever needed it, I could buy it for like $50 a month. So, but then uh, what it gave me was the freedom, and also there were years that I would end up in 1 year having like three or four contracts, short-term contracts. Oh, that taught me a lot. Gave me the experience of multiple verticals, multiple industries, working with different people, how to interact with people, and I think it was in 2005 that I started in direct energy, and that just took me to the next level. I was a contractor there for 6 years. Last 2 years was in Pittsburgh, and it was 2006, I believe, if I'm not wrong, when VMware came. and they came and created a disaster at Direct Energy that we saved. Anyways, so at that time, I realized that after almost like 10, 15 years, I see that technology is changing a lot. So, and I saw like VMware automation, probably I saw cloud was coming. That, being stuck with technology didn't really, maybe I was getting tired, bored, I don't know. But I realized that at the end of the day, the business always stays a business. Business will never change. It's all about those two lines, that line on your P&L. If it's red, you lose. If it's black, you're good. So, so I started moving myself to the business. So the last 2 years of my work at Direct Energy, I was working with the business in Pittsburgh. So, and that's where I learned how to gap the business and technology. So, and then from there, I think right after Direct Energy was the only interview that I ever did. After that, it's just my network grew so big that actually I I never interviewed for jobs. Everything became word of mouth. So what I'm trying to convey is that going to a job, staying there for 35 years, retiring with a pension, and that doesn't exist anymore. The only way to do that is to become a government employee. You go to a union, and that's it. And if there are people, actually, I remember that in 1999, one of our PMs, she left. She left the corporate world, and she said, "This is crazy. I cannot live like this." Her mom was a teacher. Her dad was a postal worker, delivery. And she said, I grew up with my parents coming home at 3 o'clock, and I came from school and we spent time together. I want to do the same thing for my kids. So depends on what you're looking for. You can be, a government worker, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's your life. That's the life you choose. Or if you're an entrepreneur, and you can be an entrepreneur, but as a contractor, as an independent contractor. I have been for the past 30 years. So yeah, I found actually that I was more marketable. People used to joke about me that by the time I hit the elevator from the 10th floor, hit the elevator on the first floor, when I open the door, there's a contract waiting for me. That's marketability. That comes from having like the experience of working in different industries, different places. So one of the other things that I've been told when I speak with people, and I ask, yeah, go ahead.
Give your thought, actually. You mentioned quite a few things, and I want to get you a little bit back to the beginning. And being a contractor, it's a different type of business because ultimately you are the business, like you are the brand. You're the brand, and it's really important to develop yourself, like you were talking about this. But I wanna get you back a little bit to the beginning. Like you did mention that the owner of the company, he kind of helped you in that direction. He guided you. And one thing that you have talked before in other conversations that we've had is an example of someone who became a contractor as well, but then they didn't save anything for taxes, so they went back into being full-time employees. So you had good advice from your accountant. So thinking back when you started, so you had the guidance from
a good accountant,
the owner, and then walk us through your thinking and how you did you do any kind of research before you jumped into, in a way, this is a new way of doing things for you. So you you did it the right way, right?
Absolutely. I was, when the owner, the president of the company explained it, and he told me that I will give you all the money, but you have to manage your own taxes. You have to manage your own CPP. And I'm like, what is CPP? I just started. So I started doing some research, and we had a friend that has been my accountant for the past 30 plus years. He does all my taxes and everything. So I asked around, and I went and talked to him, and he explained it to me. explained all the details. He explained how much money to set aside. And then he said after the first year, it becomes easier. Yeah, he told me, he said that the first year you don't pay taxes doesn't mean you don't pay taxes. That's a wrong, that's a misconception. You don't pay the interim taxes. You don't pay
Installments,
the
yeah.
installments, but you have to pay the taxes for that year. So he said, oh, keep 25% should be enough. And so I kept 30%. And then the rest of it, you have to do your own investment. And then I think in 2009, I think they changed the rules. They gave us the option to go dividend or salary. Then, the rules changed. But yeah, you need to do your research. You need to understand one of the biggest things that you need to be good at is money management. Because, my coworker and I, we became contractors together, and I knew for a fact that he was making less money than I did. But the way he was spending money, I was like, wow, where is he getting all this money from? Like, he got a better and bigger car than me, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? So the year rolled over, March came over. March came by, and I went to Edward, and Edward did my papers. Next week, a week later, he called me. There was no online electronics back then. I went to his office. I signed the papers. He said, you need to write 2 checks totaling $17,000, and you have to send them within 48 hours or you'll get fined. I'm like, okay. So I took the envelopes, went home, wrote the check, stamped it, put it in, boom, everything was snail mail. And then I went to work on Monday, and this coworker came by, and he was like white as a ghost, distraught. And he said, did you do your taxes? I said, yeah, I did my taxes. He goes, did you owe anything? I said, yeah, of course I owed. For all of last year, I sent 17,000 and change to, and he said, well, I did my taxes too, but I don't have the money. And I'm like, what? He goes, oh, I never saved any of it. I spent all of it. He actually went to the owner of the company and said, make me an employee. I cannot manage money. So you need to, yes, do your research, learn how it's done. Now it's after 30 plus years, the rules have changed. The percentages have changed. I think these days you probably need to save like 40% or more with everything, that's going on. But learn how to, just like, if you want to be an employee, be an employee. Go there, come back. At the end of the week, you get a paycheck, a big chunk of taxes out of your control, right? But if you like to be in control of things and you want to have a great cash flow and you can manage your own cash flow, you need to do your research. You need to learn what to do, when to do it. It's harder. Yes, it's a lot of work. And as a contractor, you have to, one of the biggest things was, besides money management you can automate, you learn as time goes by, is networking. Your next contract comes from networking. You need to network.
This is a very, very good point, and this is actually one of my next question. You did mention that as your network grew, as you gained the experience, your network grew, you ultimately didn't have to interview because you had such a great network. Mm-hmm. Thinking about your journey, and also you did mention that you started with technology. You were a database administrator at some point, mm-hmm. and you moved to the business. So think about your journey. How did you find your clients ultimately? Because and I do find that being a contractor is kind of the best of both worlds. In a way, you have your own business and control and the cash flow, and at the same time, you're still kind of an employee when you work with someone, right? So yeah, if you can walk us through the journey of finding clients, and unlike other businesses, like with what we do right now with the business coaching and consulting, for us to be at a certain revenue, we need a number of clients. But with the contracts, usually working with corporate contracts, usually you'd need one contract, right, at a time.
Yeah, you need one contract, but CRA has a rule. that you within a 1 year period, I think they changed that rule a few years ago. But when I was at Direct Energy,
Oh, they still
number
have
one,
it. They still
I
have
had
it.
to leave
Yes.
every 2 years. I had to leave and come back. And within a year, if they really want to be picky, within 1 year, you should have a invoice from at least two companies. If it's the same company for 12 months, then you're not a contractor.
Yeah,
So
exactly. They still have these things. So, like you said, do your research, of course. So,
yeah.
walk us through how were you finding the companies you were working with in the beginning, and then, like you did
Mhm.
mention, networking, how important it is.
Yeah.
So, how were you doing this?
So by the time I finished working with this company that I started, it was already internet was there already, and recruiting was starting. And I did some research, and I found companies that actually they specialized in placing contractors. And I tried a few of them. Few of them, I told them, take my name off of your database. I don't want to work with you anymore. It was absolute slavery, which I would just completely cut ties with them. So I picked one or two good companies, and I think one of them, already, Tech Systems. I'm still, after almost 20 years, I still believe in them, their model, their amazing company. If you're a contractor, and then one of the other avenues that I found while I was building my network was consulting firms. There were some consulting firms that they would take you on as a contractor. They would go out but they would not, you would not have anything. You would just be on their roster or have a contract with them. They would go out and talk to a client, and then they would call you and say, "Oh, we need your expertise. It's 6 months, whatever the framework was," and then you say yes or no, and you start working with them. So as I was doing all of this, I started building my own network. I had an annual ritual, like around between, I think, middle of November to Christmas. All I did was dinners, and I think you remember you were at one of those dinners. Remember, it ended up in a contract, uh,
Oh yes, yeah, I do remember. Yeah.
a $400 dinner, uh, almost what, 10, 15 years ago, more. 15 years ago, 10, yeah, whatever. $400 dinner got me a $40,000 contract. So it's about keeping the connections. It's about being out there. And I remember one of the other,
Well,
my
and
last
delivering the results, right? Okay, this is the other
delivering this,
thing.
of course, reputation. Remember the subway trip that we took that got me my last contract that I've had for the past 7 years on the subway. I bumped into someone. "Oh, hi, how are you? How are you doing?" "Well, I'm bored. Summer is over." "Oh, you're bored? We have something for you. Call us." Boom. 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, I was in Austria, picking up the first pieces of my current contract. So it's just like everything else, you have a choice: take a pill or work out once a day, right? Or become an employee, sit in a cubicle for the rest of your life, or work a little bit harder, but live a good life. There were years that we went for 5 vacations. I mean, this I raised a family with a single income. That's almost unheard of in the Western societies. House, cars, vacations, two children, single income. But I had that flexibility to manage my finances, and that's what helped me out. So it's a choice. But if you really want to do it right, do your research, learn your way, talk to experts, and don't make assumptions. Again, I bumped into this person who came here uh, from the Middle East. He was one of the most brilliant network security people I'd ever met. And we were having lunch one day, and I told him, I said, "Why are you an employee here? Are you crazy?" I said, "Get out. I will find you contracts. I will keep you employed for the next 20 years. And you tell me how much." He goes, "No, no, 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 no." He just went white. "No, no, no, we're contracting." I'm like, "What happened?" Exact same thing as the other person, but this guy actually came from overseas, came here, and he thought that Canada is the same as the country he came from. No taxes. For 4 years,
Oh,
four
wow.
years, He bought a house. He bought 2 cars. He drove a Mercedes. His wife drove a Mercedes. They had a child or 2 children actually. 4 years he didn't pay tax. One morning he goes to his client, and his wife calls and says, "Oh, there's no money in the bank account. My card is getting rejected." Long story short, they went home that night. Marshals knocked on his door and said, we're coming in, we're going to take pictures. CRA is taking over. They seized everything. In the morning, he left with the clothes on his back. Excuse me. So don't make assumptions. If you're in a new country, learn what the rules are, learn what you need to do to be prosperous. And North America is truly still, after all these years, after all these turmoils from 2015, we are still capitalist country, land of opportunity. If you do things the right way, you live a good life. And again, if you like that kind of a life, it's some people call it unstability, but I found, I think it was when my daughter, we were waiting for my daughter to be born. Everybody came to me, "Oh my God, you're having a child. You need a full-time job." Okay, so I contacted my connections. I found a full-time job at the Nortel Networks. They're gone now. At that time in 1990, in 2000, in 2000, their stock was $270. And I was like, wow, this was a good decision. In August of 2000, I joined them, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is a good decision. I'm going to retire rich here. December 5th, I think, they called us and said, come to the office, don't work from home today. We went to the office, we all got fired. Nortel Network just crashed. Guess what happened? I was one of the few people that they kept back as a contractor for 2 years after that. So for 6 months I had a job, but it was absolutely, and I thought about, that was it. That was the last time. I'm like, I never, ever again I will have a full-time job, because this is more security. Because when you have a full-time job, they have a position for you. You do that position, whether for 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, you only do that one position if you're not good at it.
Yeah, and the thing is that, when they say, oh, I have 10 years experience, it's actually 1 year of experience doing it 10 times.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. So that you are not marketable. You're one of the few. So yeah, it was not a roller coaster, but it's very exciting. And even today, I don't think I will ever, sometimes I think about, every time I think about getting a full-time job at a company, I remember Nortel Networks, and I'm like, no, I don't think so.
So one of the things, like with knowing about your journey, of course, is again delivering the results, being marketable, and of course working with these different type of companies, industries. Like you've been in finance, you've been in higher education,
healthcare,
a lot of these.
Energy,
so how do you keep on staying marketable and developing yourself so you can continue growing and you can continue having the contract? So you did mention one thing, how you actually switched from being technology focused to more business focused. So what else are you doing to stay marketable?
Don't get stuck on the vertical, regardless of what vertical you're working with. Literally in 1 year, I went from a pension company to a university and to an energy, to finance. So in 1 year, I did 3 contracts in 3 different verticals. The key is that your ability to not pigeonhole that whatever your expertise is into that vertical. If you can keep your expertise applicable to any, one of the things I did a contract for digital, I don't want to say the name of the company, but one of our famous newspapers, the digital version. I went in, they had a very big problem. They brought consultants from everywhere. And I went for an interview. I don't know how I got the interview, but I explained to the CTO. He said, "Well, we brought all these people. They were never able to find the problem or solve it or give us a solution or even identify the problem. How are you different?" So I told him my framework. I come in, I do analysis, I do analyze I do discovery, I analyze the discovery results, and then I work with your people to see where is that analysis relevant to the problem, where we should look, and then I find a problem. Not even 6 weeks later, we found it. We found a problem. We found what the problem was, and he was like amazed. There was a day, I think I was off on a Friday riding my motorcycle. I think he gathered all of his people, he's the CTO, and said, "How is he different from you?" And then he said it himself. He says, "He's not here. I'm not praising him. He's off today." Somebody told me afterwards the story. But look at what he did. Something that we couldn't find out because we were just running around in circles. He came in with structure. So if you can build your own framework that applies technology or whatever it is that you do to any vertical, you become agnostic and you become marketable. Because one of the other things that I found, like since the 90s, I know it's all in the past 5-10 years with AI and all that, it's all gone to the sideways, but we used to have cycles. Like energy had cycles where energy usage was high, they were hiring, and then energy would go down, contracts would go down, they laid everybody off. So you had to be ready for these cycles. So I learned to ride the wave of these cycles, and that was to not to get stuck with any vertical. And that's part of the problems when you are a full-time person, you work in one place for too long, you become stuck to that vertical, whatever that employment is. So yeah, we're riding the cycles. I just all coming back to me now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So I know we've been talking for like the past 30 minutes, and it's been really educational and so interesting to learn a little bit more about this type of business, right? Because it is a business. It's different from the other businesses that we've shared with interviews before in building a business. But as we are wrapping the conversation up, what is the thing you love the most about this direction, this path, being a consultant? And then what is the thing that you, I don't want to say hate the most, but the hardest part?
What I love the most is I'm in control of my destination. I'm a control freak. I've always been a control freak. I'm joking. I love being in control. I love doing things, whether I'm wrong or right, but I like to do things my way. So this gave me the freedom to do it that way. I have gone into companies where I gave it 3 months and I canceled the contract. I just walked out and I said, no, this is not for me. I'm not doing this anymore. If you're an employee, you don't have that option. If you do too many of those, nobody will hire you anymore. But contractor, no problem. 2 days later, I had a contract. And it's it was for me it was a I wanted every interaction to be a win-win. To me, being an employee in a company is not a win-win. You lose, they win. You get the perceived what do you call it, safety net, but it's not there. 5 years, one day they'll come and tap on the shoulder and say leave. So I like being in control, but the hardest part was in the beginning. It was like I had to interview 5 times a year. I spoke with another person years later, and I asked him, you're so smart, why don't you become a contractor? He said, I hate interviews. To the day, I think you met him in the direct energy uh, dinner we had for Christmas, yeah, in December. He hates interviews. Just for hating interviews, he stayed an employee. And I was like, wow, really? For me, interviews, within 5 minutes, I took the interview over and I became the the person in control. So, but it took a while for me to get there. I had to stay up late to do resumes, work with different. It's hard. The hard part is the search. It was the search back then, and as I mentioned, the economic cycles. Sometimes there will be a cycle down where I had to literally drop my hourly rate by $20 an hour, and I've done it just to get a contract. But I knew that it was a cycle; it will pass. So it's not easy, but you can make it easy and you can make it fun and be in control and have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, and with this one, I would say again, one of the things is that with this type of work, yes, you're the brand, you're the business, you need to stay marketable. However, you need one or two clients a year. That's it, right? Like this is what you need, and a lot of companies, especially in the corporate world, they're looking for contractors. There are positions out there. Mm, So last thing. What advice would you give to people who might be considering this as their path?
Don't be afraid. Just jump in and do it. If you're not a lazy person, at the end of the day, we can fool out everyone except for ourselves. Look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, if you're not a lazy person, you you can do it. It's not difficult. It's not complicated. It may be difficult, but it's simple. Just do it. We have a very, very good example of that. You know her, Antella.
Oh,
Remember
yes, yes,
how much
yes.
I pushed her to become a contractor? She was like, "Oh my God, I have two children now. I can't do that." I'm like, "But you have a second income, which I never had, to fall back on. Just try it." What, 12 years later, 13 years later, she's just, she will never become a full-time employee. Once you taste that, like I said, you have to be careful. You have to be methodical. You have to manage your money. It's not easy, uh, but it's simple. But once you do it, once you taste that freedom, that if an employee, if they literally it becomes the case of they need you, you don't need them. Because then your next contract, they know it. It's waiting for you and you can make more money on the next contract. They need you, you don't need them. I'm not talking about become adversarial and be arrogant. No, but having that freedom of knowing that uh, if you don't like what you do, you can very politely articulate that and walk away. I've only done it twice in my entire career, but that's you having that freedom. The other thing is that there's only one reason, this is the difficult part, that companies hire contractors, and that is to solve a problem they couldn't solve themselves. So you're under the gun, you're getting paid much higher than their employees. Although it's off the books, it's capex, but that's a different story. That's for later, for when you become when people become I'll explain that part of it. But you are under the gun. That's another one of the difficult parts. You have the responsibility to solve that problem because you are the last straw. They came to you because nobody could solve it. And there were cases that I would get in that they had actually even called Microsoft, which is the product owner, and they couldn't solve it because it wasn't a Microsoft problem, it was an implementation problem, right? So if you have that confidence in yourself and you look yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm not a lazy person, I'll do it, jump in. It's so liberating. It is so liberating. I will never say never, but I will
I
never
know,
look
and
into, yeah,
you've kind of pushed people where when you see the potential. I know, we
yeah.
push people that it's an amazing option and a way to have that control, like you said. Mm. And one of the things, like you did mention, and I wanna uh, point it out as well. Uh, you've walked out of two contracts, right? But with a lot of the contracts you've had, because you deliver the result, because you keep the good relationship, what happens is that like I think with U of T, right, the University of Toronto, you
Yeah.
worked with them, and then you moved on to other contracts, and then they came back and they said, "Oh, can you come
Three
back
times.
and work with us?" Yeah.
Yeah, three times they came back and they needed help. I went back and came back, and yeah, there was a time actually one of their IT managers, directors, he used to take a vacation in Portugal with his parents, where his parents lived, with his kids. I used to go backfill him just for the month of July. That was
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
So when you keep a good
absolutely.
relationship and deliver results, actually a lot of the companies they come back and say, "Oh, we need you."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You don't, yeah, you don't burn a bridge. Like I said, you can leave a contract without burning a bridge, right? So absolutely, that's one thing that when you become a contractor, it's very important. It's more valuable than gold is your network. And I happened, I remember distinctively, I got on a call with Nortel Networks. There were people from three countries, and we all started introducing ourselves. After I introduced myself, a voice on the network on the call said, "Joris, is it you?" I'm like, I'm not sure now, but who is this? The guy knew me. After we got off the call, he called all the managers in my team and said, "If you guys let him go, you're stupid." He so I made a good impression on him before, and we got on the call, and he actually said, "If anyone can solve the problem, it's him," and I did.
Wow, talk about
Imagine,
pressure.
imagine the spotlight. Imagine the reverse of this. If I had burnt this person, guess what would have happened,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's very important. There are ways to say no without saying no. There are ways to handle tough situations. I learned, I've burnt a few bridges, but that's how you learn, right? In your career. So, but yeah, it's liberating. For me, it's been liberating for almost 40 years now. So,
I love talking with you, and I promise last question. You already mentioned that you worked, like in the beginning, you were working like 20 hours a day, or like you were going Saturdays, Sundays, all these kind of things. But what
we were
does it,
building the internet for you guys.
thank you, I appreciate it. But when it comes to building a business, what does it mean for you personally? What does it mean to have grit and to have grace?
Uh, I think I think both of those are born in you. I don't think you can fake either one of them, grit or grace. I've seen people who have one or the other, uh, but or maybe I don't know. Maybe the grit part of it is me going to my dad's when I was a kid. After the school closed, my mom used to ship us to my dad's depots, and we used to see all these workers work, and we used to work with them. We loved to. That's how I learned how to drive like different big machineries. Maybe that's what put me in. Then my dad pulled me in, and I started working with him. Um, at home, I would used to help we were not allowed to leave the table with, leaving the plates on for somebody, your mom or whoever, pick it up. I think the grit part comes from there, and then at a very early age, I started living on my own, and I had to do everything myself. So there was nobody to feed me or whatever. So um, I got the grit, the hard work part of it from there. If I don't do it, I don't eat. It's very simple. And then when I built a family, if I didn't work or I didn't work hard, four people didn't eat. So it
Yeah.
was even, yeah. And the grace part of it is, like I said, part of it you have to have it, and then part of it is, I think you learn. Make few mistakes, you burn a few bridges, and then you learn how to do things gracefully. And again, I don't think there is a way to naturally, if you have 80% of it, that's good. But I don't think many people have that naturally. But you can learn it. You can not learn it, acquire it. I think the grace part of it. Um, yeah, it comes with experience, I think. Um, And experience, I'm not talking just about work experience, it also life experience matters. When you walk into a room and the manager stands up and says, everybody relax, he's here, all problems are solved for as long as, like, for the next week, it's really hard for you to not become arrogant and not become like, it takes a certain personality to just go sit there and as if nothing happened. That never happened. The guy never said that. So I've seen people who turned the opposite, like they completely turned into jerks and they were gone. Within months, they were gone. So it's, I think it's experience. Grace comes with experience. Grit is more nurture, I think.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for an insightful conversation and sharing your story and what it's like to having this type of business, being an independent consultant. It was a pleasure chatting with you about this, and I know like the next conversation we have will be our usual training kind of thing. But really, really enjoyed having this type of conversation and asking you about the journey of being an independent consultant for what, like 30 years now, over 30 years.
Yeah, over 30 years. Well, 1995, so.
Yeah. Well, we're already in 2026, so.
Yeah, over 30 years, yeah, absolutely. Pleasure being here. Thank you for the opportunity. I know I ramble on and there's like so much, like there are 3 or 4 books in my head need to be written, but yeah. It's,
be careful, you're making a promise on in front of people, so
no, I didn't.
We'll keep you accountable.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Anna, for having me.
Thank you.